Hey guys, sorry about that. Our camera just cut us off, so we decided that we were just going to make this another video. And basically what I was just trying to say is, I think when we were in that meeting for our therapy, I was so sure of what I was feeling, and I was referencing a lot of the things that God was showing me, and that you can tell what is in something by its fruits. And so what I was trying to elaborate was that, as Katie and I continued our relationship, it has only grown us more and more, and has only continued to further us and further the kingdom of God, might I add, because we are constantly looking for ways to serve people. We are constantly looking for ways on how we can portray Jesus in this relationship and individually. And so for me that day, I let it all out, and I just remember telling her, there's no way this is of God. Like, for someone who had so much doubt, and now to know that I know, there's no way. And so when it came to, our therapist finally elaborating, I'll never forget, she asked Katie, she said, "Katie, what did you feel?" You remember that?
I do. I don't remember my response, honestly, but I remember her asking questions regarding what I was going through.
Yeah, I also don't remember her response, but I do remember her saying this. I felt this peace and this warmth come over me when Gabby was talking. And the only reason that I brought this up is because, remember, I have always been about someone else seeing what God has showed me, to know that I know that it is coming from God. So for her to say that she felt this warmth and this peace, and that she felt the presence of God, just continued to confirm. And honestly, I can say from that day, it changed for us, right? Wouldn't you say?
It did, and now that you're saying that, I do recall part of that conversation. It was quite a while ago, so I don't remember everything, but I remember her saying, and Hope has told us this too, is that when the Spirit of God falls upon you, it's not scary, it's not provoking your anxiety or anything like that. God's presence is calm and just very, at least for me, I don't want to say silent, but it's almost like you're just so relaxed that nothing can shake you. And I remember our therapist, when we were having this conversation, she said, well, all this anxiety and everything you're feeling, and the doubt and the questioning, where is this coming from? And I said, I don't know. Because when I went through that, I had never struggled with my sexuality up until this point. And in fact, so much so that I would encourage Gabby, and it was ludicrous to me that she didn't realize God loved her as she was, whether she was gay or not. God loves everybody, period. And so this was the first time I questioned my own thoughts, I guess. And at the time I thought it was coming from God. Obviously it wasn't, because he quickly showed me. I like to say quickly, Gabby says it lasted a while. But there was a rough patch there for a little bit, and I just remember, obviously now I feel at peace, and once that struggle passed, I feel at peace. But I think a lot of that has to do with, I've always struggled with how others perceive me, or how I'm judged by others, so to speak. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. I know I'm not the only person who's ever felt that. And I think fear of judgment for a lot of people, it's very scary, because if you're ostracized or outcast, nobody likes to be treated badly. Nobody likes to be treated less than, no matter who you are or what you're about. So I think that had a lot to do with it, to be honest. And I think it just weighed me down so much. But when God freed me from that, it was like I was weightless. I felt none of that pressure, none of the weight. And that's the best feeling, to feel that way.
Absolutely. So basically, as we, continued this journey, I had made this decision. I was ready to get engaged. And this was in spite of everything that was happening. I decided May 18th of 2020, I was going to get engaged. That's right, it was happening during COVID. And so I had made the decision, and I remember I had been working on Katie's scrapbook, and that's how I decided to propose. We went to Garden of the Gods, and every day before and after it was going to rain, and for some reason the day that I was going to do it, it was sunny. And so what I ended up doing was every day I would work on it, and man, things were hard. You would almost think that the more I tried, the worse things got was maybe God trying to tell me no. And so that's why I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of surrendering. And I said, God, if this isn't yours, if this isn't what you have for me, then have it. Have it. But I want to know that I'm going with your blessing, because your blessing is the most important thing that I need. And so I'll never forget, you know, as I finished this scrapbook, I'll never forget, I was at my friend's house while they were on a trip, and I had finished it, and I closed the book, and then I put the ring on top and I pushed it forward. And I said, I promised you that never again would I choose Katie over you. And I won't be mad at you if you decide that this isn't what is for me. But I would rather know that I know than go unsure and then us struggle. And so I pushed it forward and I said, I give you the most precious thing I have. I give you my relationship, my dreams, all of it. It's yours, fully surrendered. And I felt this peace. I felt this peace come over me, like, you keep going, Gabby. Watch what I will do. And it was crazy because the day of our engagement, Katie wanted no part of it. Like, I wish I could tell you this was that story where, yeah, everything was amazing. And, you know, she said yes. And obviously she did, but it was not that. And oddly enough, I hated every moment of it. And looking back, I wouldn't change it for the world, because through that, God worked a lot of things out in me. For a long time, I took Katie for granted. And in a time where Katie wasn't reciprocating what I wanted, it taught me how to love in spite of someone telling me no, in spite of someone giving me the opposition. It was teaching me that love was a choice. It was almost preparing me for our future. Teaching me that there's going to be times where Katie is going to be okay and I'm not going to be okay. There's going to be times where I'm okay and Katie's not okay. But love is a choice that you make each and every day. Yeah. And that's not something that I knew until this happened, because every day I had to choose that in spite of what was happening, that I was choosing love. I was choosing to trust God. I was choosing to walk. And I remember I was praying with my coworker right before the day of the engagement, and I said, I am either the stupidest person I've ever met, or I have faith that moves mountains. And I really hope it's the faith that moves mountains, because I was terrified. I knew she had already been making it clear that whole weekend, please don't do this, please don't do this, please don't do this. And I mean, Katie, I'll let you tell that part of the story.
Yeah, so during the time I was struggling with my sexuality, our anniversary was coming up, which was May 18th. And so I had a feeling that Gabby might propose, and no one said anything to me. It was just this gut feeling that I had. And so during that time leading up to it, I think even that weekend, the day of, that whole entire time, I said, please do not propose to me, because I am struggling and I do want to marry you one day, but in this moment, I can't see that far ahead. And my faith was really shaken, because for the first time I was struggling so badly with my sexuality, and like I mentioned, it was never an issue before. So I just kept telling her, please don't do this, please don't do this. I was literally begging her not to, because I didn't want her to be in a situation where she got excited and made these plans. And again, I didn't know what the plans were, but I didn't want to let her down because I loved her so much. So that was extremely painful, because I know I loved her and I was in love with her, but I kept hearing the lies and I kept feeling judgment almost. And it's not like anyone was judging me at that time. So I think looking back, I was putting pressure on myself, and I can't explain why that happened or, you know, what the purpose was, but I do know that God brought me out of that, and I'm stronger now because of it.
Absolutely.
I have no doubt in my mind that I'm ready to marry you, and I'm so excited. So it was very difficult, because I knew I was hurting the one person I loved more than anything, but again, I didn't want to set her up for failure, so to speak. So
no, and that makes sense.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough.
And so, you know, what we both didn't realize is we both had to struggle with our sexuality, but it caused us to surrender it at different times. We both had to surrender it at some point, and we had to make the other person not each other's God. And so I think that, you know, be it as it may, is it was hard, but there's been growth because of it. And God has only made our relationship stronger. And so the day that I proposed to her, it was at Gardens of the Gods, and I did it at the top of a mountain. I gave her like a little trail that I wanted her to walk by. We sat at this beautiful cave-looking thing, just overlooking, and I gave her the scrapbook, and I didn't give her the last page. The last page was actually where I had it, and I was going to hand it to her. It was where she caught a bouquet, and at a wedding, at that first lesbian wedding that I told you I had asked God, mind you. And so I gave that to her, and you know, Katie was quiet. She said, please, like, why are you doing this? And believe it or not, I just remember telling her, like, I don't want you to have faith in me. I want you to put your faith in God. I would never be here had I not felt that the Holy Spirit was giving me the strength to get to this point. And so she said yes, and we are engaged. And so, you know, I knew that God's hand was all over it. But I didn't know how much more he was going to put his hand all over it. So then, long story short, we have now, from that engagement to a year later, we are stronger because of it. We are learning about marriage. Her and I are both reading an amazing book that is teaching us about marriage. I want to do it right, and who better than the Creator? I don't know what a good marriage looks like. I was never, unfortunately, exposed to what a good marriage looks like. However, I do know that my Father created it. I do know that he knows what's best for us. And that is why we have chosen to not do anything until our marriage. Mind you, have we messed up in the past? Absolutely. But truthfully, I didn't understand the actual reason why. I never learned that. I was never taught that. It's just something we didn't talk about as kids in our family. And so for me, as we've continued to walk, you know, I had felt that before our journey to Tennessee, we had to get married. And so I told Katie, like, I really think we should start planning it. And Katie was like, when? Like, the year, this 2021 already started. And so I was like, I would like to do it in August. And so I said, we could do something small in the mountains, not a big deal, just us and the most important people. And then I don't know how you found this venue, so that's...
I was searching venues online, and to make a very long story short, I found a venue that I thought was my dream venue. So we went to tour it. The woman took us around. She showed us the grounds. It was absolutely stunning, and I completely fell in love with it. And she went upstairs to get some paperwork to go over pricing with us. And I remember in that moment, Gabby said, we need to pray, because we had no idea what this venue cost,
right,
but we knew it wasn't cheap. So at that time we did have savings, and we were preparing to get married, but unfortunately we weren't really getting help from anybody other than ourselves. So we knew our families at that time weren't going to contribute financially. So we prayed, and we just prayed that if this was the venue, if this was the decision, that God would come through, and if not, then he would shut the door. The woman came back, gave us the price of the venue, and we left feeling defeated, because we knew there was not a chance under any circumstance we would ever be able to afford this venue. And we actually went to Hope's house, actually immediately touring the venue.
Well, before that, if I can.
Yeah.
So when we left, I have always loved giving Katie the desires of her heart. And it makes me happy to make her happy. And this was just one thing I felt like I could not give her. I knew it was way out of budget. I knew that this was something only God can do. And I remember crying, and Katie asked me, why are you crying? And I said, because I can't give this to you. And actually, you reminded me, you know, God provides, it's okay, we're gonna be okay. And immediately my sister calls me, hey, how'd you like the venue? And I shared with her, and at the time, whoever she was seeing, she said, hey, listen, like, if you really like it, you should go with it. And I said, well, it's I'd love to go with it. We don't have the money for it. And her boyfriend chimes in and says, how much do you need? I'll give you 1,000. How's that? Why don't you start with that? And then you guys, you never know what could happen with the rest. And immediately we were blessed with $1,000. I could not believe that. I could not believe that.
It was incredible.
And then I'll let you continue. And that's when we went to Hope's house.
Yeah, so on the way home from the venue, or on the way to Hope's house, I should say, from the venue, that's when that conversation happened with her sister. And she was so supportive and so excited. Gabby was FaceTiming her while we were there. We walked into Hope's house and I felt very defeated. And Hope said, you know what, we're gonna pray. And Hope prayed a prayer and she asked God that if this was his will, that he would have his hand all over it. Every detail, every single plan, everything. And so when she prayed, I just felt peace. I still, in my mind, had no idea how we would be able to afford this. And the problem is with the venue, because it was in high demand, we had to come up with this money within 7 days of touring it.
$6,000 to be exact. The $1,000 was the deposit, and then another $6,000 in 7 days, I think it was, right?
7 days.
That they needed it. And I was just like, I don't know where this is gonna come from, but how is this gonna come to pass?
Yeah, it was tough, and we fell in love with it, and it was a tough time, but we put our faith in God, and I'll let you kind of.
Yeah,
explain.
So it was crazy, And in the next video, I want to bring in Hope because she's witnessed a lot of these things. But as far as the wedding goes, I would be lying to you if I said I worked my tail off and I made this happen. I cannot explain how I made the sales and the salary to justify how we were making this while saving for a move, might I add. And so there's just so many moving parts when it comes to this. The reason that this is so important for us to share is because, as I mentioned in my last video, is that people don't think that God is involved in our marriage. And I have watched him provide for me at my job. I have watched him use the most unlikely people bless us. Katie's mother came out and blessed us completely, and I'll let you share that part.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to share too much. I do want to keep some things personal, if that's okay, but she did help out a lot, and from a planning aspect, she did help me with my dress, which was huge, and just having her here was such a blessing, and it was amazing to see God work through her, and it was incredible. And
so watching that unfold, watching my sister step up, watching all of these things just fall into place, and then having someone to witness them is the best gift I could have ever have asked for. Already, this is an amazing gift, and he does more. And this is why I want to film the wedding. I don't know how. I don't have the money to afford the videographer. I don't know how it's going to come to pass, but I want you guys to see what God has made happen, how God has gotten us to this point of marriage. The guy that I mentioned who helped Hope and at one point helped me at the beginning, who was the pastor who turned that church from non-affirming to affirming, is the guy who's going to marry us. If had our date been any other day than July 31st, he is booked. And God gave him to us. The very person that it all started with is now the very person that he's using us to send off. This is divine intervention. This is something I cannot even begin to make up or tell you or fake, because doing so, one, would be completely misrepresenting my dad, but not telling you would also be misrepresenting my dad, because I want to give him all the credit and all the glory. This is not something that I've done. This is not something Katie's done. This is something that God is heavily involved in, and man, do I feel the Spirit of God right now. I am sorry. Wow. I just want you guys to know that there is a reason why I have the chills. There is a reason why we are on this journey. There is a reason why we are sharing our story and being open and transparent and showing you guys everything that we have, because God is ready to show you a side of him people haven't seen. God is ready to bring this revival so that you don't have to feel rejected anymore. You don't have to feel alone anymore. He is for you and not against you. And if you would come and talk to him and just talk to him, may he show you who he is. May we never take what people say of who God is, but rather go straight to the source so we in turn can figure out who our Father is. You know, for a long time, people were telling me who God was, but it wasn't until I stopped all of that and I researched myself, his word, I seeked his face through prayer, through worship, did I only experience the intimacy that I have now? Do I experience the blessings that we have in this relationship and in this marriage? And so in this, I just want to first and foremost just tell you guys, God is for you. God doesn't want to oppress you. He doesn't want to see you sad. He wants to love you and he wants to show you his glory. He wants to show you from dead to life, from sad to happiness. He is the healer. He is everything we could ever ask for. And it's the main reason why we do these videos, is because my passion has always been, ever since I found out who he is, my passion has been, how can I show people who you are? How can I represent you in such a way that is nothing less than what you are, Father? I want to be able to convey who you are in my life, not just with my words, but with my life. How can I live out that love and that grace? And what better way to experience love and grace by being the epitome of what's rejected? And in this moment, I just feel like to have this wedding is a story that only adds to our testimony, but one I'll never forget. And I feel so grateful that you guys are able to witness this. I feel so grateful that you're willing to be on this journey with me recording. I'm so grateful. Hope's behind the camera recording us currently. I'm just so grateful for all of the moving parts. I'm so grateful for all of the people who have stepped up and helped us when we needed it the most. I'm so grateful for everyone being so willing to jump on board and support this journey. We've gotten amazing love in the comments. We've gotten so much feedback that just continues to encourage us. And honestly, it makes me feel good that these videos are touching you. Not for me, but for him. For him. I don't need you guys to get anything from me other than for you to see who my Father is and to see just a taste, just scratching the surface of the things he's capable of doing. How much more does he have waiting for us if we would just allow him into our hearts? And so, Katie, I am so grateful that you did this video today. I'm so grateful that you were willing to share our love story. And in the next video, I am bringing Hope in. And we are going to go over, and I want her to talk. I want her to share the things she's seen. I want you guys to see the outside perspective of this. And so, you know, I hope you guys will continue to stay tuned in. Keep me in prayer that we can get this videographer for the wedding. I want nothing more than to be able to share this special moment with you guys. And so, just keep us in thoughts and prayers that God will continue to provide this for us. I know he's already provided so much, but I just want you guys to be able to experience this with us and see just the things unfold that God has for us, but also for it to encourage you to seek something on your own so you can experience probably even more than what I'm experiencing. So I thank you guys for today. I thank you guys for being so loyal. As always, continue to like, share, and subscribe. Continue to stay tuned, and I promise you we have a lot more to come. Thank you guys.